Yo, what is up, everybody? What's good? What it is, what it do? It is your boy Kel, back again with another video. And for today's video, we are making our way back into the Marvel Universe because today we are going to be making a special kind of team. And what I mean by that is, today we are going to be making a secret Black Ops strike unit. However, our unit is going to be a majority of Avengers characters. Yes, sir, that is right. You heard what I said. For today's recruitment season video, we are essentially making a kill force unit, but out of our beloved Avenger members. Now, when people think of the Avengers, the characters that usually come to mind are characters such as Thor, Tony Stark, Captain America. These big time heroes with their fascinating abilities who live together and yet somehow still seem to constrict themselves to some kind of moral code, which may more or less keep them in line when they're taking names, kicking ass, and saving us all from ever impending doom. So when you think of a kill force unit or an assassin type of squad, the Avengers aren't really a team you would think of to pull members from when it comes to candidacy. However, that concept might not be as bizarre as you may think. Because canonically, there have been times within the Marvel Comics universe where people have looked at Avenger members to make such a squad. And within the comics, this team, once it is formed, usually ends up going by the name of the Secret Avengers. Now, while my first introduction to the Secret Avengers was in Brian Michael Bendis' second volume of the New Avengers run, there have been different incarnations of the team. Now, with the team that I started with, it was basically Nick Fury creating a team out of certain characters who we know nowadays to be villains. But back in the day, they were just wild characters such as Namorita, a younger version of Kraven, a younger version of Sabretooth, to essentially fight the Nazi problem, or need I say, the Marvel version of the Nazi problem, the Red Skull. However, there have been other formations of the team created by members such as Commander Rogers, who had members such as War Machine, Black Widow, Agent Carter, and the such to take care of off-brand tasks that the president will assign he felt needed to be taken care of after the whole reign of Norman Osborn. So today, that is essentially what we are going to be doing. We are going to be looking at Avenger members that are a little bit more hardcore, need I say, morally ubiquitous in order to form our own version of a secret Avengers team. Because no matter how many Avenger members you may be able to think of that may seem pure or righteous, there have always been those members that were constant and a part of the mainstream line that didn't mind getting their hands dirty and crossing the line. Shit, you think I'm lying? Just look at some of the members. Some of the members like Black Widow, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and everybody else were villains at first. If that's not enough for you, shit, Look at the off-brand team of the heroes, the Illuminati. Heroes who do messed up shit for the so-called greater good. And if that's not enough for you, just look at all the events that we have due to the Avenger members being morally ubiquitous, like both of the Civil Wars. So, like I said, those are the members we are going to be working with. But before we start recruiting, before we start drafting, we of course have to establish the rules we have set aside for ourselves when it comes to making our individualized teams. So with that being said, when it comes to recruitment season, the first rule is that each team that we recruit can only have up to 5 or 7 members. No more than 7 members, but no less than 5. And the reason we have chosen this number and I have made it so set in stone when it comes to the rules of our recruitment season videos is because for some unknown reason, when you look at comic book teams, no matter if you're talking about the X-Men, the Justice League, the Avengers, the Suicide Squad, or whatever the case may be, their targeted bracket for membership usually consists of 5 to 7 members. And I assume that's because that gives you a little bit of wiggle room to, have members back home at the base, members on reserve, members out on the field, members doing solo missions, or possibly members who may be qualified to be on the team that you're dealing with, but they end up having their own ancillary teams. So with that being said, anytime we do a recruitment season video, 5 to 7 members are always going to be the targeted number we aim for. The second rule that we have created for ourselves when it comes to recruitment season is that on this channel, we do not do variants. And look, I know that when it comes to comics and fiction, the thought of the multiverse have been fully embraced and integrated by the fandom. Which is fair. Because there are some interesting concepts that come along with the multiverse. But like I said, once you get into trying to figure out what form of a person is which and all this other stuff, it can get very messy, very convoluted, very complicated. I'd rather just say, hey, the version of a person I know from a movie, in a TV show, in a game, in a book or whatever, all those forms are combined into one person instead of trying to decipher, hey, this person has this and his other alternative. No, I don't want to do all that. So with that being said, like I said, on this channel, we just do not do variants at all. And our third and final rule is that once we draft a member in the recruitment season video, that member can no longer be used for any other team. The members that we choose for a particular team cannot be put on any other team except the ones we have them in. No matter if they're known for being on more than one comic book team in the comics, or if they would be a good fit for another team, we cannot put a character on more than one team during our recruitment season videos. So if I decide to do another team with a person like Quan or Austin or anyone else I may have on my channel, or if I decide to do like a multiversal team, these characters that we choose today, they are no longer available. And I will have to remember or tell people what members we have already picked and chosen so they will not be tempted to use those members again. Okay? So with that being said, now that we have gone over all the rules that we have established to ourselves when it comes to recruitment season, we can start looking at applications to start hiring members that will form our Secret Avengers team. And with that being said, the first person that we are going to recruit to lead the Secret Avengers team is going to be Sharon Carter, aka Agent 13. Now, for those of you who may only know Sharon Carter from the movies, even though she's more hardcore in the comics, she is the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. But when it comes to the comics, she's more or less like one of Nick Fury's lieutenants. When you look her up on Marvel Wiki, it calls her the most dangerous spy alive, which I don't know why, because in my opinion, that's Black Widow, but she is formidable. She's great at hand-to-hand combat, she's great at weapons, she's great at espionage, and if you know anything about Sharon Carter, one of the main things she's known for is so-called killing Captain America in the Civil War, where she was brainwashed, but after that she, went through training to get past brainwash techniques. But in regards to why I'm putting her up here, Sharon Carter, like I said, she's a spy, she's a soldier. But also, when you're dealing with a team like this, I feel like you need members who have guts. Her being a lieutenant of Nick Fury means she's great at following orders, but she's also been known to lead her own teams and stuff. And even if she wasn't a leader, she's one of those people who aren't afraid to go against the grain and aren't afraid to question her authority to see like, hey, this is the wrong move, or I think you're making the wrong decision. So now that we have chosen our leader, we must now choose our second in command. And the person we're going to pick to piggyback after Sharon is Christoph North, aka David North, also known as Maverick or Agent Zero. Now, for those who do not know who Maverick is, if you have seen the X-Men Origin Wolverine movie, Maverick was a guy who was able to shoot very well and worked for Stryker. In the comics, he began as a mercenary. He was a really good mercenary who got the attention of the CIA and eventually ended up joining their Team X. Team X was a black ops unit that, hired mutants and eventually put them through the Weapon X program. The reason we're choosing Maverick is because, like I said, he was a very good shooter. He's a mercenary. And though he had moments where he was rogue, he is a very good... I won't say he's good at following orders, because there's many times in his history where you can see him being insubordinate. But when you're a soldier, some people may think that's a bad thing. I necessarily do not always think it is. So instead of saying that he doesn't follow orders, I would say he's good at following his instincts, which I think is way better than following orders, because there's times where his boss will tell him to do unmoralized things or leave his team behind. So he's very good at doing what's right and following his instincts. So we're going to choose him for the second member of our team, and he's going to be the second in command. So now that we have chosen our two leaders, we can finally start choosing the soldiers that will help carry the team. And even though I said this team will consist mostly of Avenger members, and the only Avenger member we have seen so far is Sharon Carter, we are also going to choose other type of people. For instance, one of the people we are going to choose are one of the members that was on the original Secret Avengers team led by Nick Fury, and that person is going to be Kraven the Hunter. Now, the reason we are going to choose Kraven the Hunter is because even though nowadays he's known to be one of the greatest villains of all time, he's also known as one of the greatest hunters of all time. So we are going to choose him for his skill, because when you're dealing with a team like this, when you're constantly trying to do reconnaissance and you're tracking people, you have people on the run and everything, people in hiding. So you're going to need someone on the team who is great at finding people and setting up traps to capture them. So we're going to choose Kraven to be our third member. Now, the fourth member of our team is going to be yet again another villain. And the villain that we are going to choose is going to be Crossbones, one of Captain America's greatest villains of all time. And the reason we're choosing Crossbones is because Crossbones is a mercenary. And while mercenaries really don't have a code, the payment that Crossbones could receive, just like Craven, is he can have some of his record expunged. He can, you know, do jobs to get time out of jail or to get amnesty from certain countries or whatever. But we're also going to choose Crossbones because unlike, well, maybe unlike Craven, who knows, Crossbones is a part of Hydra and he is a part of terrorist cells. So as a terrorist, he knows the ins and outs of other country and their criminal mindsets and assets. So we're going to choose Crossbones to be the fourth member of our team. Now that we are choosing two members who are villains, and we have one member who has been known to be a hero slash anti-hero, but not an Avengers member, now we can start putting members on the team who are mostly Avengers members. And with that being said, the next person we are going to put on the team is Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye or Ronin. Now, the reason I say Hawkeye or Ronin is because you would know that, like I said, in our rules, we do not do variants. Now, while we're not pulling a variant per se, like, oh, a Hawkeye from one dimension and another Hawkeye from another dimension, we have already chosen a Hawkeye for another team. However, it was Kate Bishop, but I say it's loosey-goosey because, one, they're so stubborn that they just won't change their names. And two, like I said, before Clint died, he was Hawkeye. But before he was an Avengers member, he was also an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. And I have made it clear in one of my videos that when it comes to names, I feel like you choose to call him Agent Barton, Bullseye Barton, Hawkeye. He can go by other names rather than just going by Clint or Hawkeye. But I also say you call him Ronin because while this is a secret Avengers team, he needs to be more stealthy, and his Ronin suit is stealthier than the Hawkeye suit, depending on what Hawkeye suit you're going with. So we're going to leave it up to him. But the reason we're putting him on the team is because after Clint came back from his death, he was a little bit more reckless and rebellious. Like, he was one of the main advocates for killing Norman Osborn and taking out members of Hammer and stuff. So he's always been a little bit more looser and, you know, free-spirited when it came to the rules of killing or not killing. Even before he died, he was one of those Avenger members who were technically a villain or a criminal. But like I said, with Hawkeye's ability to, you know, find patterns and with great eyesight and to be a marksman and stuff, he will make a good asset on the team. So we're going to choose Clint to be the fifth member. So now that we have 5 members, we need 2 more. And the next 2 members is going to be tricky for me. It's not tricky, but the next 2 members, one of them is kind of just a free-for-all. And what I mean by that is I have to add her to add the person I want because they kind of go hand in hand. And what I mean by that is we're choosing Cloak and Dagger. Now, the reason I said we have to choose them together is because of the way their powers work. Due to Cloak's powers, he will be good, especially when it comes to like teleporting and getting people places to places and capturing people or digging into people's mindsets. But because he's constantly feeling a need for light and his power is drained without Dagger, that's why we're adding Dagger to the team. And even though I didn't really want her on the team, she could make a good asset because her abilities allow people to see in the dark. She can make light daggers. So if you're in a dark spot and you need to see, you have light. If you have a body that's poisoned with something, you can use her light daggers to heal them. You can make them tell the truth or whatever. So we're going to choose both Cloak and Dagger to finish up the team for our 6th and 7th members. So yeah, you guys, we have Sharon Carter as our leader. We have Maverick for our second in command. Then we have Craven. We have Crossbones. We have Ronin or Hawkeye. Then we have Cloak and Dagger. So yeah, you guys, those are my Secret Avengers. Now, I will let you know that Craven and Crossbones weren't originally two people I was going to add. I were going to put Agent Venom and Winter Soldier up here, but I switched them out due to wanting to use a criminal mindset and keep, sort of keep the original idea of what I saw the team as to begin with. But I also thought of another team I could make where Winter Soldier and Agent Venom would fit. So that's why I switched them out. Because as long as I found two replacements that can go hand to hand, I felt like it would be good. But anyway, you guys let me know what you guys think of my Secret Avengers team. Who would you put on the Secret Avengers team? Would you switch my members out? And like what type of missions should the Secret Avengers go on? But anyway it goes, you guys know what it is. I'll catch you guys later. Deuces.